Hey, everybody, welcome back to Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit on this great Wednesday night. I'm your host, Sean Morris, and you all know my friend, crazy Tim
Timmy,
Thibodeau from the Fifth Ward. Timmy, how you doing, brother?
pretty good. Look at Sean. So much shit going on. You're gonna have to forgive me if I don't hold myself together.
You'll
You
be
know.
fine, Timmy. You'll be
Oh,
fine. No crying on the podcast, all right?
yeah,
So, Timmy, listen, last week we were I found this funny. So, last week we were talking about the city of Troy because in the city of Troy, it really was about the mayor versus the council, but it was more about us talking
yeah,
how soon as you have a Democrat and a Republican, they just bang heads and no matter what, nothing gets done. They don't even
hmm
know what the hell they're fighting about, right? They're
yeah,
just fighting
yeah,
because one's a Democrat and one's a Republican, and we can't let one look better than the other. And that's what was happening over in Troy. The mayor of the city is a Republican, and she had that Republican council. She had it all, right? Everything was
yeah.
going great. And she bonded like a $5 million bond for some work. And then they added another $3 million, to do some upgrades to Fair Park Golf Course, right?
hmm
And then all of a sudden, elections happen. And the whole, I think, I don't know all the numbers, but the majority of the council is now Democratic. So you have a
Right.
Democratic
I think
council.
that's a 7-member council. I believe. Yeah,
All I know is that the majority. So if it's
yeah.
seven, that means four, right? The majority is now Democratic. So anything this mayor, who I thought was doing a great job,
hmm
Republican, Democrat, I don't really care. I mean, she ran for office, I think, three times, lost three times. People finally said, hey, this lady really wants this job. She keeps
Yeah.
trying and trying and trying. Hey, they give her a shot to try, and now the council's just knocking her down. So it was just funny because I said, I wonder who the clown is who's leading this charge, right? And as soon as the
Yeah.
show got over, I go on to Facebook, and sure enough, there's a council meeting posted, and I see this guy here. Okay,
Cohen. Yeah.
woo! I just look at him and I could tell he's an anal bastard,
Yeah.
right?
Greg Cohen. Yeah.
Yes, Council Member Greg Campbell Cohen. So
Yeah.
he's the guy who's got the bright idea that they're going to pass some resolution or something and change the whole bond for the $6 million or $8 million, whatever the number
Yeah.
was. And somehow he's going to lead that charge, and they're not going to spend the money, and blah 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 blah. What he doesn't know, like most council people, because I think most of them are incompetent for that position. Most of them just run to be something, to be somebody.
Yeah.
And you run in a small district. So if your mother goes out and your two brothers and your sister, your cousin, your aunt, your cousin, your wife, whatever the hell
hmm
they all are, chances are you're going to win. And then you get into the position and you're a moron like this guy, Greg Campbell Cohen, was
Yeah.
saying that, basically we'll pass a new resolution and we'll take that $3 million out of the bond.
Yeah.
Timmy, that's not how it works, right? Because soon
No.
as the city sells the bonds, the investors buy them. There's now a contract. There's interest that has to be paid. And you don't just snap your fingers or pass a new resolution and say, oh, we're pulling back the money. You're already obligated, bro. You
Yeah.
got a contract. There ain't nothing you can do. Now, there's probably some scenarios like recalls where interest rates go down and you might have a clause in there that lets you claw that back and get the lowest rate. And there may be some other, technical
Yeah.
issues, but just because some moron who wants to put on a show thinks that you can just change the bond and pull the money out after it's been purchased by the investors is another example of why this country and all of our
Yeah.
communities are screwed up because he's got zero knowledge, zero brains, and doesn't know what he's talking about, right? But
Yeah.
here's the funnier part. I want you to. I got to just take a second because I'm not this.
Yeah.
I'm
Get
not technical.
yourself all set,
I'm
but
not technically savvy, right? But
right.
here's that guy. I just showed you his puss,
Yeah.
right? There's his puss. Let me show you one more time his face.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Where do you
Come
get the
on.
middle name Campbell?
I don't know, but there he is, right?
Greg Campbell
I just
Cohen.
look at him and I can tell he's an anal guy.
Yeah.
He was like Randy Knifka was to me on the council, right? He's
Yeah.
probably calling the. Remember you had to come. Remember Randy tried to say I was going to beat him up out in front of the
Yeah.
city hall.
That's why you've been working out there.
and,
Like this.
and he called the cops, and you had to say, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Sean wasn't even out here, but that's what this guy reminds me of. But take a look at him. You got to listen to this guy because if you want to know what a moron sounds like,
It could be a good reason. It could be a very bad
Now
reason.
he's talking to the
What I
mayor.
know is that it's there. And this is obviously not what was happening on January 9th, 2026.
If I may.
No, you may not. My goodness, lady.
My goodness, lady.
So what is he? The president of their common
No, he's
council?
just a clown in the circus, and he
You
looks like a clown. He acts like a clown, and there's nothing professional about this guy, right?
No,
I
no
mean,
decorum here.
I mean, for God's sake, she's the mayor of the city. She says, "Do you want to know something?" And he starts yelling at her, and then he calls her, "My God, lady!" Even this guy at the end there, I don't know,
Yeah.
Grizzly Adams. Grizzly Adams.
It's my guess. It's now I could be wrong in there, but it's my guess. It's probably their council members. Okay, preside over, and she's there as a guest. That's
Yes,
what
they
I'm
are
thinking.
council members. What the hell do you think I just
right,
said to
so-
you?
Right.
Cohen.
So, right, but is he might be the some president? Maybe she's not presiding over there.
No, the president of the meeting is right there in the middle. She's in
Yeah.
the audience.
Oh,
And she
okay.
asks this guy if she's trying to give him
Yeah.
some information, and he scolds her like it's like she's a child when she's the mayor of the city.
No class. No class.
No class whatsoever. There should be some respect.
Yeah.
But let me just see if I can go back to that. Watch
Yeah.
Grizzly Adams.
Wait,
I
yeah.
think I can see. Watch Grizzly Adams.
But you don't want
Sure.
to-
It
Even
could be a good reason.
even Grizzly Adams is shaking his head laughing
Yeah.
like, oh my God, is this really happening? But that's the circus that mayors all across the capital region have to put up with. You get all of these wannabe people who think they're so important, and they're
Mhm.
going to tell you how to run the city. They didn't get elected to run the city.
Yeah.
They have an important role. I'm not going to say they don't, but that role is pretty limited. And one of the things you don't do in that role is treat the lady like she's a piece of crap when she's the mayor of the city. And I
Mhm.
find it to be like, despicable at the highest level. But
Mhm.
anyway, I thought we'd find that funny because this guy is a moron and Grizzly Adams is laughing and they're yelling at the mayor. Welcome to
Yeah.
Dysfunction
Well,
Junction.
kind of like, well, Randy would knife you in the back, but he wouldn't twist it. The same kind of a.
He called the
no
cops on me
respect.
about 25 times. I had the cops
Yeah,
call
I was
more
there.
on me.
I was there as a witness to him. Yeah, I told you they called me in there. Wanted
Sean was
life
going to
or-
beat me up.
Yeah, I told him, hey, and 3 times Randy baited you to try to get you to punch his lights out, and you didn't buy on it.
No, I would have waited till I caught him at Boney's. Well, I wouldn't do it in
Yeah.
front of City Hall.
Right. With
Hey,
cameras
listen,
on
do
in
us a
front of-
favor.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're watching the show, do us a favor. Will you please just jump over and subscribe to our channel? Timmy's not on it. I took him off the air for this part because I truly forgot to put him in. But anyway, hey, if you like the show, subscribe and jump on and watch us and help us grow. We're doing fantastic and really could appreciate all your help. So, hey, Timmy, let's talk about the great city of Cohoes.
Yeah. Let's do
And-
that.
And let's start from kind of like the beginning. After I got out of office and Bill Keeler became the mayor, from that date all the way up and today, all the way up till
Mhm.
today, they haven't done shit in economic development.
Right, none. Absolutely. $350,000 more with Napier, and what have we gotten for?
Well, we haven't developed anything. We don't
Nothing.
have no new development to bring in money to the city. The city is
Nothing.
in a financial pickle. You know,
Nothing.
they're spending money like drunken sailors. They're spending more than they're bringing in, and they're constantly looking for ways to generate new revenue, right?
Yeah.
They can't figure out how to do it my way, which is to bring in investors. I brought in $75 million in 1 year, more than
Yeah.
the last 60 combined, right?
And
And
the shit that's happening.
Right, we were
just
able
racking my
to-
head.
we were able to function on every new bill was paid by somebody else investing in our city. I'm sorry. So anyway, nothing's happened in the city. It looks like shit, right? So if you take a walk down our favorite street that was dead and we brought it back to life. In fact, we were so busy on Ransom Street that the only thing we needed, excuse me, was a parking garage because we couldn't park cars. Place was jam-packed 7 days a week. It was It was beautiful, man. It really was. And now, if you walk down the street, what do you see, Timmy? You
Well, it's
see,
depressing when you go from Columbia Street all the way to Cayuga. Okay, I mean, there's so many vacant storefronts. Okay, and because of the vacant storefronts, the council is decided to take certain actions here, and I'll throw it at you what they got going,
well,
and
I
I'll
think,
chime in.
we just talked about this because we both had phone calls come our
Right,
way.
storefronts that are empty.
So if you look at the city codes right now, it's no longer a destination, right? There's a couple places that still exist because they have the resources to stay open, and they
Yeah,
do draw crowds because they
and they
just
have
have
certain
good.
services that people
Right, they have
want.
great businesses, and their business model works, and they're established all across the capital region. So
Yeah,
they have followings at their other five bars. They come to Cohoes,
yeah.
but it's certainly not the way it was
Hmm.
6 years ago. So one of the things that's been going on is if you walk down Ransom Street, and we talked about this last week. I walked down Ransom Street, and I had to jump over about 60 piles of dog shit. It's
Hmm.
filthy dirty. There's
Yeah,
garbage in the alleys. There's garbage all along the roadway. There's garbage cans tipped over. All the trees, these beautiful trees that we put in, they're snapped off, and the the branches are hanging there. The $3 million Canal Square Park still doesn't have its Hall of Fame up. All of the instruments been ripped out of the ground. It's been dented up because kids are over there kicking it. We know there's drugs going on in there, people sleeping over there, giving free haircuts over there. The
yeah.
city is turned into a shithole under the guidance of Bill Keeler and economic development under fat ass Steve Napier, right?
Mhm.
Steve Napier, you guys remember that name? Shit Shacks. Tell us about the Shit Shacks. Did
Oh
you
yeah,
remember the Shit Shacks?
right. I mean, he when it was with the CLDC, the Local Development Corp. Okay, $25,000 is spent to buy 10 little shacks in order for vendors to sell products out of during Christmas holidays, and I think they made $750 for people renting those
Well, so they only
shacks.
lost 24,000.
Right, so they lost about 24,000. Then they take the shacks and they hide them at DPW places like up on Central Avenue, and they
Yeah, they spread them
disassemble.
out though, Timmy, right?
Right, they did. And they brought them on up to the DPW yard just past the Trinity Church off Fleet Boulevard, and they sit there for another year, and then suddenly they disappear. Okay, all that. So instead of just saying, "Hey, we're going to sell these things and maybe pick up some money for them," because they were probably worth 150 bucks or more. Okay, they turned them around and they disappeared them like Hillary Clinton disappears people, right? So they got Hillary suicided, all right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
and Napier moved on like nothing ever happens. So
we do know
yeah,
last year there was no Shit Shacks, right? There was nothing for Christmas.
no.
We went from the Christmas Wonderland and Shit Shacks to just a
Well, we
snow.
went right. We went to after that at the there. They tried to do these music events in the freezing cold. Okay, nobody showed up. Maybe
Steve
two
Napier
people.
showed
All
up.
right,
Remember the garbage can fell
right.
over. He didn't even pick it up, the fat
Yeah, he
bastard.
shows up. There's maybe 4 or 5 people there, right? So that crashes, and what do they do next year after that? Nothing.
Nothing. So this
Nothing.
is this is something I find,
Yeah,
I find what they're trying to do now. Let's explain it. I
yeah,
find that this is fitting for the incompetence that the city has, right?
yeah.
So if the city lets the downtown go to the doghouse, right?
Which happened? Yeah,
Poop everywhere, fights, gunfights, people moving out of the high end apartments. So there's no more people
yeah,
down there to fill these bars and restaurants.
yeah,
Businesses start to struggle. They're
yeah.
not struggling necessarily because they don't have a good business plan. Sometimes they're struggling because the city doesn't have a good business plan and turns its city into a
People said
shithole.
that.
What's that?
Yeah,
Right?
people. One woman said that Napier had stopped in her shop to learn how to do grants.
Yeah.
She had to explain to him how to write a grant for something.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's pathetic. So
it's crazy.
so these storefronts are now, these people are losing their businesses,
Hmm.
and and a lot of money that they've invested in the city that was flourishing, that is now down the toilet. and they've all lost money and they close shop and they're out
Yeah.
of business. And so now what you see is all these empty storefronts. We didn't have an empty storefront. We had people lining up to want to come to the city of Cohoes. Cohoes is
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
Saratoga no more. Cohoes
Like
is
I said,
really
just drive up the street, walk up the street is depressing.
it is depressing, especially for me because I watched everything we build
With all
and
the
everything we
storefronts closed.
brought
Yeah.
gone in just a
And the
short period
city's
of time.
solution is what? Go ahead.
So
You might as well
here's
tell
the
people.
city's solution. This is how we're going to promote new business, and we're going to really just try to make money because the city is going broke because they're spending money,
Right.
like drunken sailors. So now, if you have a storefront and you don't have a business inside your storefront, the city is going to start fining you under this guidance of a registry. If the first year there's nobody in there, they're going to charge you $500 for having an empty building. The second time they're going to charge you $750. Then it's $1,000 a year, perpetual, until you can get somebody to come in and rent your storefront. Now, let me ask you about common wisdom here. Wouldn't you think every one of these landlords wants somebody in their business so they can make money? Do you really think they
Absolutely. Yeah.
want
Yeah.
empty storefronts?
Mhm.
It's because the city of Cohoes doesn't attract people no more. When I became the mayor, this is how it was. My Uncle George
Yeah.
Primo was starting to get some traction, but it was basically a city full of empty storefronts. We came up with a whole new concept. We revitalized this whole downtown with a whole different principle. They destroyed that principle. And what they're left with now is empty businesses. If I was a business, I'd tell them to shit in a hat. I wouldn't be paying them $1,000. I'd be saying, how about you pick up the dog shit, get the weeds out of the sidewalks, fix the trees, stop the kids from shooting each other, stop the people from breaking in, robbing all of the stores in the middle of the day, put some cops on the street, clean up your park, and then maybe people would want to come and you'd have a business with people flourishing up and down the street. Don't blame the business. Don't blame the guy who's trying. Don't say I'm
Yeah.
going to charge you $1,000 because fat ass Steve Napier can't get businesses to move into the city. That is
Yeah.
the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Now, I would hold these people responsible for cleaning up their front, making sure that the windows ain't broken, making sure that it ain't, looking like a shit show down there. I can understand that. But to say we're going to charge you money because you don't have a business in there when the city itself can't bring business in?
Well, if you recall, one of the first acts the mayor took was to deny a liquor license to that one store. I can't think of the name
Spades.
of it. Spades, right? Denied them
Spades.
using police letterhead
Yes.
out of the right to deny them a liquor license. So he was anti-business right off the bat.
Well,
Didn't
he
even
is
give him a chance.
anti-business. Mohawk
You know,
Papers closed up, Norlight's
but
closed up.
But the goal right away was to erase all the good that was going on. Let's start off with changing all the gateway signs that were beautiful, red, white, and blue, all American gateway signs. Okay, then going around and sold the golf cart they were using for going around the Canal Square and the park and buying a stupid Harley Davidson in a small city like this. They can't even get out of. They can't even get this thing out of second gear. Okay,
Sammy
it's
Hagar sung that song.
yeah, it's just crazy what's been happening, and now this $900 thing, and it gets even worse. What they're looking to do with people.
Let me
The
jump to the
source,
next
yeah,
slide because
yeah,
so just so you understand, folks, the first thing they're trying to do is charge people who have the empty storefronts. And
right,
mind you, the city itself, with a lot more opportunity and money and investment purposes than a small little business has, they can't even attract business.
yeah,
So how are you going to go find the small business for not having no business when the big city of Cohoes with a
yeah,
$75,000 a year economic development director can't even get a business into the city? It's
right,
bullshit. It's just
yeah,
another example of a city who is hurting for money, and they won't raise your taxes because politically they can't feel like they'll get elected if they do that. So they keep stealing money out of the piggy bank. paying for bills
Yeah.
because they don't have the money to pay the bills, and they're trying to find out ways to, bring money into the city. And so one of them is to start with this economic development registry and make it sound like this is some kind of great improvement. But they go
Yeah.
after the small businesses. And again, they can't get business in the city. How you expect these small businesses to do it? But
Yeah.
on top of that, now
Check
you
this
could
out.
see this small little place, this mini mart on Ransom Street. Believe it or not, he's a busy store,
Yeah.
and
He
he's got
does
good
nice.
food.
He good food. It's clean and everything. It's a great store there.
But part of their let's promote good business in our city is to also have part of the ordinance that he can't have all of these signs in his windows.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I, for the life of me, can't figure out how that's hurting anybody.
You can only take 10% of the window space for a sign, and then he's got to put up a no loitering sign, however you say it. Loitering. Okay, he's got to put up a no loitering sign, and you got to be able to see. This is kills me, Sean. You got to be able to see the cash register from a public space.
Well, that's so the young kids that go by who
Yeah,
are loitering because there's
right.
no cops down there, and
Mhm.
they'll know what a cash register is when they break in and steal it.
Right, I'm
I
saying to
mean,
myself, yeah, I'm saying, what's next? We're gonna put a ring camera on a cash register connected right to City Hall.
last year there was like 3 times where these kids just walked into places. I think Rizzo's Flower was one of them. Where they're
Yeah,
back, where they're making flowers in the back. The kids are walking in, going through their cash machine.
yeah,
So it just doesn't make no sense. It is an example of these policies coming out of people who are incompetent in that field of business. Steve
it's
Napier is not a economic development director. He knows nothing about community development. He's never owned a business in his life other than his political business that he went
yeah.
belly up on.
And Sean,
And
I stopped in that store and I told this guy, I said, hey, they're gonna come on out there and tell you got to take these signs out of your window, and you got to put downward lighting on it, okay, down in there, and if you want, it's an option, but you get to buy a $900 barrel with your store information to put outside on the sidewalk. And
so
he says to me, I'm not buying no barrel. And I keep hearing that from many of them.
Well,
So,
just so that people understand what the barrels are, they're
yeah,
trying to limit your ability to promote your store with signage because
yeah,
they want you to buy a $900 barrel that goes in front of your store with your store information on so everybody can have the same monkey barrel up and down the street. It's just another
exactly.
stupid concept. Who's going to pay for the lights? Who's going to pay? This guy's got to put down lights, the lights that come down. Who's going to pay
Yeah,
the
yeah,
$5,000-$6,000 to do that? He's probably not making
yeah,
6,000 a month out of that store.
yeah. And where do they get the right to tell you you have to put a no loitering sign
Listen,
in
I
in
I
your window?
understand that government has to take action and it's got to help
Yeah,
promote businesses, and they promote the historic downtown, and all this nonsense that I hated that red tape. I cut through it all because
yeah,
it would hold up everything. But I understand you want to have some kind of like continuity down the street. You want it to look nice. You want people to want to move in the downtown and pay $2,000 a month to live in those apartments, right? You know how
hmm,
hard it was for me to convince people to spend $4 million on Ransom Street. When I walked the first investor down, Cohoes Theater was still standing, and it had a tree growing through the roof, and all
yeah,
of the sidewalks had trees. And the guy goes, Sean, I love you, but if you think I'm spending $4 million in this shithole city of yours, call me when you make it shine, will you?
yeah,
We made it shine. He came back and spent the $4 million, but all of those apartments are struggling to get market rate now. So what would have been 200 people living on Ransom Street making six figures who could go into those businesses and keep them busy all day long, all night long? Then people are leaving. So the
hmm,
businesses will die. They will die slowly from 1,000 cuts from Steve Napier and Bill Keeler, who have no clue of how to run the city, how to do economic development, and selling shit shacks and monkey barrels is not
Yeah.
going to be the answer.
Yeah.
And telling people they got to pay $1,000 because they can't get somebody to come and rent a storefront because there's piles of shit up and down the street that they don't clean, and broken trees and weeds and fights and gunfights. I don't know. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me.
And right next to this store, Sean, okay, if you recall, when I went around and I reported to the city and everybody else, we did a little thing about the fire hydrants, right? The fire hydrant right next to this store, which was broken in the spring, is now broken again. And what did they do? Instead of fixing it, it's got snow all the way around it and a cone on top.
I know.
Okay?
It's just crazy.
No
Timmy,
public safety consideration at all.
Timmy,
There's a
we're four
fire
square
downtown.
miles. Our
Yeah,
city's 4 square miles.
yeah, not a
When I took
priority.
over, I sat down with my team of people. I said, listen, Ransom Street's a mile and a half long. If we can't fix a mile and a half strip of a downtown, none of us deserve to be in these seats.
Mm.
Nobody deserves to be the mayor, the council, or any of the positions that I'm trying to fill if we can't resurrect a mile and a half, if we can't stop crime in 4 square miles, if we can't do any of those things. Why are we here? Well, here's a glowing example of people who are in positions that shouldn't be there because they can't do nothing. If they would have sat in their chair, put their feet up on the desk for the next 8 years and left it the way it was, the city would have been booming. But they
Hmm.
had to go in and change everything. They had to leave their footprint on it. And you know what that footprint is? It's a shoe with a lot of shit stuck to the bottom and it stinks. And that's what's happening in the downtown Cohoes. It stinks. I don't know how you fix the problem. I think if the council has any brains, they wouldn't pass something that's just going to hurt small businesses. They would figure out how to get Steve Napier to get businesses in here, get investors in here, get people to want to come here, to make it a destination again, to make it an all America city once again. That's the path we were on. And I'm going to tell you the hardest thing to do, Timmy. The hardest thing to do is to take a city that's been declining for 50 years, get it to spike up to like a rocket ship. And then when it comes all the way back down again, like it is now, trying to get people to reinvest a second time. That's going to be a difficult task. And I think the city's in a lot of trouble. And if I was everybody, I'd start thinking about moving to Florida.
Yeah.
That's my two
Well, you
cents.
look at, you could tell a difference in the I like to call it the bling that the city had, where when they invited the mayor, or if the mayor was at Rock the Block, okay, if they mentioned, hey, all this, welcome to Cohoes and all that, and thank Bill Mayor, maybe Bill, yeah, Keeler, maybe maybe about four or five people clapped. Okay, it was just, there was no enthusiasm. Okay, although the attendance and people enjoyed themselves and stuff like that, it just didn't have the same feel. The bling. And just driving down Ripsa Street today, you would think that there would be better means to plow that street. Okay, if that's your primary um, uh, uh,
Business
district,
district, yeah.
yeah, business district, okay, but it's not. You can go. You can't go a single block without looking at one or two or three or storefronts that are closed.
Well, you
Okay,
probably have a bunch of DPW workers who are like, screw you, because they hate Steve Hennessy because they treat him like shit. So
yeah,
I mean, listen, this is a totality of problems. This
mm,
isn't just one problem. It's the
yeah,
leader at the top who's terrible. It's the people that he hires underneath him that are terrible. And if you live in Cohoes and you can't see that the city is going in the wrong direction, then you know what? I don't know what to tell you. But I mean, you
I,
must be a cyclops, and your one eye
yeah,
must be have a cataract
yeah.
because
Well,
it's a
I'd
mess.
like to blame the council as well, because you know typically there should be some accountability. It should at least even have a discussion about it during council meetings, right?
Well,
I sent
yeah.
I sent an email to all six council members last week, right? The only one that responded to me back was Nick Izo. Okay, so I'm gonna get, there's times, Nick, and there's other times where, Nick, kudos to you because you replied and the other five didn't. The council president, he has not replied to me on anything in the last several months.
Well,
Okay.
you hurt his feelings, and he doesn't
Yeah,
have
well,
the.
I did because I told him, hey, where's the accountability for using City Hall for political campaigning? And what happened is the mayor stared you down during a meeting and you caved in. You bent the knee. Okay,
Yeah,
and that's
I think the city is just what it is. It's a
yeah,
city that's just floating around with no direction, no leadership, no guidance. I mean, you've seen some of the great people that were on boards quit. You
yeah,
see many of the guys who didn't want to retire. Guys that couldn't retire jump ship and go take other jobs. I've never seen nothing like it in my life, and I've
yeah,
been here for 58 years. Um, but hey, Tim, that's Cohoes, and that's the direction it's heading. And so, like, if you own a business in Cohoes
sure,
and you have an empty storefront, I wouldn't doubt for 1 minute you're going to have to start paying these registries. You know why? Because the councils are full of dodo birds itself, and they never seem to have the courage to stand up and say this is a bad idea, and we don't want to charge the storefront owner until we as a city have opportunities to bring people in ourselves. And if we can't do it, how the hell you expect them to do it? All they have is a small little budget in a building with some glass that's called a storefront. They don't have resources like the city. So remember that when the city can't get businesses to come, how the hell you expect the little guy to get businesses to come? I would give you the blueprint. Here's the first thing that I would do: clean up your city. Clean it up. Pick up the garbage, pick up the dog shit, prune the trees, fix the park, get the cops walking the beat. Okay? Do those
repair the
things
park,
first.
the broken fire hydrants right
Fix the
in front
fire hydrants
of
right.
your
Make it
business
look,
district.
yeah, make it look like it's a city ready and willing to kick ass, not a city that's got its ass kicked. Okay? That's the
Yep.
difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, Timmy, look at, I want to jump over because I think the hottest topic in the world, and it's really something that, I mean, I don't even know if our show is even in the realm of talking about this stuff. But so I got to put you back in the show, Timmy. I don't know what the hell I did to you. I must have left you out of it. But, you know, Minnesota is a nightmare. And it is a nightmare, not because I personally don't believe, because um, the whole ICE immigration shit. I just believe it's a nightmare because I don't know, the world is screwed up. I
What
don't even know how to start to.
what you have is, I think it's very simple. Okay, um, what you have is you have essentially a police force and ICE are going after these known uh, criminals who have records that are here in the country illegally. Okay, one way or another, and all they want to do is say, "Look, we want to pick them on up, we want to process them, and then we pay as such." But the people, especially in Minnesota, and they have a Somali community, they just don't want that, and it's really boiling down to me. It's boiling down to votes. Okay, these people vote in mass. Okay, for the Democrat and the Democratic Party. Okay, you've got all that fraud with $9 billion disappearing. Okay, it's a serving as a distraction. And look at it. One woman just lost her fingers on her hands picking up a it was some kind of not a pepper spray, but a smoke grenade. She goes and grabs it on up to try to throw it back at ICE, and she loses 3 fingers on her hands.
Yeah, that's
These
why the only one sticking up is the middle one. That's when she,
right, and Sean, this is it. But these
the
protests, Sean,
morons.
are organized. These people have the same shirts, same signs. Signs. There was a guy just on YouTube said, "Look, I've done this as I was an organizer of these things," and he said, "I can tell by looking right at the. This is all paid for. It's all organized. Who's got the money? Who's doing all of this?" And look at if I don't think that we need to do the Insurrection Act, which would allow the actual army to come in, but it's really gotten out of control. In which you have a federal government and you have a local and state government where they just can't seem to cooperate in such a way to say this is a criminal. We want to go pick this on up. Okay, and why don't you pick them up and get them for us? Oh, we can't help you out. We can't. Then we'll go get them. You just make sure people leave us alone as we do.
To me, it's so much bigger than that whole
It
thing,
is.
though, right? I mean, it starts with who would ever think that it's a great idea to open up the border and let 20 million people in? I'll
That's
tell
right.
you who says that. The people who were looking at the census in big cities like New York and Chicago and
Mhm.
all of these other California, people after 9/11 were just leaving these big places because they were putting their thumbs on their heads, taking control of their lives, closing down their businesses, and they were moving to places like Florida and Texas that had a total opposite way of doing things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
everybody who just goes about their life probably doesn't know all of the particulars unless you're a political junkie or in politics. In the congressional districts, you have X amount of Congress people based on the population of your state. When your
Mhm.
state loses 150,000 people, you start losing seats in the Congress, right?
Yeah.
And then those people start losing power because it could be Democratic seats. The Democrats lost 9 seats, we gained
Mhm.
7 seats. And next thing you know, you got to try to figure out how to get people to move back into these places. And so they brought in the illegals. And if anybody thinks that's not what they did, they're morons. They brought in and let all these animals into our country without even worrying about who they were and why they were coming because
What
they
they're-
needed
yeah.
bodies. And you notice that those
They
bodies were
needed them for
directed.
one thing, for voting.
Right. Well, it was more than just voting to me. It
Mhm.
was to have the population so they could keep their seats in the Congress. Voting is also important, but I'm saying the population is how you get your
Voting, but
Congress
the
people.
amount of congressional seats, you mean?
Correctly. So if New
Yeah.
York has 5 because it has 5 million people and it goes down to 4 million people, maybe now it only has 4 seats. So the Democrats lose a seat. But Florida is a Republican and they picked up all the people. So now they have an extra Republican. So it's all about trying to keep the balance of power. So they let all these people into this country. There's not a person in the world, including Biden or anybody else, that thinks that's a great idea for humanity. They thought it was a great idea for power. And once they controlled the power, what is the next thing they did? I was the mayor of the city when the census started. We got a letter from the government saying that you had to count everybody, including illegal aliens. Tell me that didn't have a spotlight on it saying this is why they're doing it, right? They're doing it
Right. They're
because they
not.
want the population. And where did they send them? They sent them to New York, to California, to Chicago, the places that were losing the most population. And then you started seeing cities like Chicago and California and New York trying to pass laws to let them vote as illegals. Or they started giving out the best benefits because they needed them not to say, let's go to Mayberry. Okay, we got to go
Mhm.
to New York because they got free health care. Well, that's
Yeah.
because they needed the bodies in New York because they were losing the population. And
Right.
this whole ICE thing is ridiculous. You and I had Sheriff Apple on the show. We've had the District Attorney Lee Kinlan on the show. We talked about raise the age. We talked about bail reform and how these things were detrimental to society as a whole, how they were helping promote crime, how people would have violent crimes and an hour later be walking out of the court system back into the streets, right?
Mhm.
So whoever thought that was a great idea? But that was part of the plan, right? Because now all these illegal immigrants are under these sanctuary cities. And a sanctuary city just means they're not going to work with the law enforcement of the federal government. So why would any human being with any brain say we got rapists, murderers, child molesters, this, that, and the other thing, bad hombres in our police, arrest them. We send them to court. We put them in our jails. Why would they just let them out onto the street if they cared about people? Why wouldn't they say, call the federal government, let them take them out of here? But the reason they don't is because if the federal government's deporting them, they're losing population. And there goes right back to the beginning where they don't have enough population to support their balance of power. And that's the vicious cycle. And all these morons that are out there protesting, Timmy, you're absolutely right. There's no way that 600 people have the same shirts and the same signs.
Mhm. They do.
And it looks like the FBI is starting to track money to an American, a 71-year-old billionaire who's in Beijing somewhere, and
Mhm.
he's spending the money here to disrupt our government. He should be locked up and put in prison. For Christ's sake, I had 8 FBI guys knocking on my door saying I took $500 check from somebody that gave it to me because I put it in the wrong account. Come on, and you got people like Omar who's got $30 million all of a sudden. $30 million.
Right.
She can't even speak English.
Get this, and on top of that, Sean. Okay, they bought a winery for $15,000.
They don't even make wine.
And within a year, it's worth $5 million. And look at where the Muslims, they can't drink alcohol.
Yeah,
and they buy a winery.
And I can't wrap my arms around what they did to me. I think about what they did to me and Ralph every freaking day, and realize that they used the federal government to kill us, all because I told Cuomo he was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And he sent FBI after me. And at the end of the day, I put a $500 check that was made out to Sean Morris instead of friends of Sean Morris. And I was supposed to give it back. And instead I put it in my account and gave back the money. It was just the most innocent thing. But then they come knocking on my door.
Yeah.
She's got $30 million. These people are funneling billions and billions of dollars. Nobody says a freaking word. Omar marries her brother.
Yeah.
Her husband's now worth $30 million. The guy can't count to 5, and he's worth $30 million. And we got all these people out there protesting. None of these people, listen, good people who have a cause to protest with respect and dignity. I walked many picket lines. I protested many times when I was with the unions. You got the bullhorn. You're yelling about things. You're cheering. You're screaming. You're trying to make your presence be felt. You're not out kicking down hotel doors and smashing the windows. You're not coming to, look at anybody that died during these protests is a tragedy to me at the highest level.
Yeah.
But you know what? First of all, they weren't there protesting. They were interfering in these operations. And anytime you're going to interfere with an operation, you better be prepared for something bad to happen. Because these people, these ICE agents, they're on the edge, man. People are trying to run them over, throwing rocks at them.
They're being called Nazis.
They're just doing, look at, I'd be petrified to be one. You watch them going down the street, they're throwing boulders through their car. You got a guy with a gun. Why would you listen, forget about the right to carry the gun, because the guy had the absolute right to carry the gun. He had the permit. He had everything else. But why would you carry the gun and then get into arguments with the police and get into a tussle with them while you have the gun? Because that's just going to lead to something bad. And that's what happened. I posted a post. As soon as it happened, I said, I know what happened. I seen this shit happen. Somebody seen the gun and yelled gun, and somebody just said gun and start shooting, because you know what? They're not going to wait to get shot. Somebody,
and, right. And this was a Sig Sauer 320, and that particular gun has it has a problem with it where it can self-discharge.
But that's not what happened.
But it can. I'm not saying this is what happened, but that gun is so fickle that it doesn't take much for that thing to discharge, bumping it or whatever. So, and I'm not saying that's what happened. What I'm saying is that gun, though, is not the safest thing to be carrying around with.
The guy is a moron.
When it's got these kind of problems with it.
The guy's become radicalized. Even his parents, I guess, I didn't see it. I'm going to go back and try to watch it. Even his parents said he started acting different. He started acting like he
quit his job as a nurse.
Yes, right. You know why? Because he got all wrapped up. He got brainwashed. He got Jim Jonesed into this bullshit, and he's dead because of it.
Before that, and got a broken rib or something.
Well, he wasn't a nice guy, because now they got videos of him spitting at them, kicking their cars. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. If I'm a ICE agent and there's 5 of us trying to wrestle you to the ground, and somebody else, he's got a gun, guess what? I'm not waiting for you to shoot me before I defend myself. And that's the problem. And then you do have morons after morons. And I'm going to get in trouble for this, Timmy. I'll probably get thrown off my podcast. They'll cut me out for life. But I always see these people that live these alternative lifestyles. They're the biggest whine and crybaby screamers out there that want to make it sound like ICE is just a bunch of murderers. Or they're paid people. Or they're just really... They're just really weirdos, man.
Well, this nurse, she said she was going to poison ice agents in it.
Yes,
If they
that's what I'm
end up,
saying.
they ended up firing this woman there. Where is her common sense? Of self-preservation. If you feel that way, you don't put a video on out there. We want to poison these guys if they end up in a. What's wrong with these
I got a
people?
video
Damn
that
it!
I want to try to see if I can. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah,
I want to try.
yeah. Hey, we finally got one person to come in and comment.
Well, while he's commenting, I got to try to figure out how to do this because I
Yeah,
want
while
to
you're
add
trying
this.
to do that, okay, go
Well,
ahead.
look, so I'm going to add that, but I want to get to this one, and I don't
Yeah.
know if it works. Son of a bitch! I'm not technically enough to
Well,
do that.
and these new features are, you know, um, you got to learn how to use these things.
Well, I'm going to learn right this second because I'm pissed off now. Let me just see if I can get this to pop up.
New York Patriot 712. Hello, or how are you?
Watch. Let's see if I can get this to come up. It's just not playing. Son of a bitch. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can actually. It's small,
Right,
but I can see it.
it's probably too small because I don't have the proper stuff. But listen to it.
Shoot me in the head! You coward! You're cowards! I'm right here! Shoot us in the face! Shoot me in the head!
Now you're gonna tell me that's a normal fucking person
Yeah,
screaming,
yeah.
"Shoot me in the face! Shoot me in the face!"
Yeah.
These are morons.
Yeah.
They are either paid agitators, or they're mentally ill. If anything has come out of this whole ICE episode, I guess, because it's a long episode, it's like a series. But if anything came out of it, we have a lot of people who have mental illness in this country that need help, Timmy. That's just what I've come. That's what I believe.
Sean, I'm retired, and I wouldn't even take the time to go on out and do that stuff.
Now, listen, nobody would. I would go out and protest when I was with the union. I'd picket for better hours, wages, and working conditions. But I wasn't throwing rocks at them or freezing ice in a bottle and whipping it at their heads. These ICE agents, I'm sorry, they're patriots. They're out there trying to do a job that they're being ordered to do, and they're going up against people that are being paid by Americans worth billions of dollars that hate this country. They're socialists, they're communists, and I don't want nobody to die. I'm a God-fearing man. I want everybody to live a happy life. But I'm going to tell you something. If somebody who's out there who's trained in catching sharks, and I decide I'm going to jump in the water without knowing how to catch a shark, and the fucking thing eats me, guess what? That's my fault. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a stupid analogy, but that's what it's like. It's like you got these people jumping in the middle of a police, who are trying to arrest bad hombres.
Barricaded,
Yes, they're trying to arrest rapists, murderers. At the same time, they're trying to watch their backs because these lunatics are trying to throw rocks at them.
Yeah.
And guess what? If something bad happens, it's your fault. You should have stayed home, or you should have stayed on the sidewalk, or you should have just held up a sign and said, "We hate ICE."
You got 2 people dead, and you got one woman who lost several fingers on her hand from picking up a flashbang grenade, I guess. So
I have never seen.
It's crazy.
I have never seen anybody protest
right.
all of these young women that were murdered by illegal immigrants. I've never seen them protest. And then some asshole on Facebook says to me, "Oh, you're just picking and choosing. I never seen Republicans care when kids get killed because of guns." And that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. The debate between whether a gun is the killer or the person with the gun is the killer has been going on forever, right? I don't have that answer, because if you want to kill somebody and you don't have a gun, you're going to run them over with your car. You're going to stab them with a knife. You're going to poison them with, there's a million ways to hurt people, right?
Yeah.
So
so
that argument over guns and mass shootings and all that, I get it. Because I often say, as a Democrat that I am, do we really need to have a gun that shoots 100 bullets? But at the same time, we have a constitutional right to those guns. And so I'm not, who am I to say that we shouldn't have them when the Constitution says we have them? Because that's what distinguishes this country from everybody else, our rights, our liberties, our freedoms,
Yeah.
right? How can you
And
even compare that to this whole thing where
Yeah.
these guys are taking women and raping them and murder them and throwing them under the bridge and then going back and raping them again and try to justify that and say that ICE is as bad as those people? Never
And what-
seen a politician picket for them women. Never.
Right. Why would you go to a rally with a handgun and you got 3 magazines that can carry up to 20 rounds per magazine?
Why would you
Better
go?
than why would you
Right.
do that?
Why would you,
You know,
go to
you're-
the rally with the gun and then get in a fight with the cops?
Right. You're
You have a
just
right to go with your
asking
gun.
for-
I get it.
Yeah,
You
do.
want it, right?
But you got to have
Uh,
some restraint. This he just look at whatever happened to this guy here radicalized him, in my view. Okay, and in the end, it ended up costing him his life.
Yeah, it's just like that,
And-
that poor
yeah.
girl.
Yeah,
That girl in that car. Do
Yeah,
I know?
yeah. They could have shot at the tires, but
Who
it was
knows?
instantaneous.
That's right.
What happened?
And he already got run over once.
Yes. So
And so the
what
bottom
would you
line
do?
is she wouldn't
Yeah.
have got shot if she wasn't in the middle of the road trying to prevent them from doing their job.
Yes, that's
And
true.
that's the bad circumstance. What's it called? Murphy's Law, right?
Yeah,
If something's
what
going to
comes around
happen,
goes around.
it's going to
yeah.
happen. Murphy's Law. And she
So it-
shouldn't have been out there.
It's
Should she have
George
been-
Floyd all again. It's same state, Minnesota.
Yes, George Floyd. We put up a statue. He's a hero. The guy died of fentanyl
He's a-
poison, I think. I mean,
you
at least
know,
that's what I
yeah,
believe. I don't know that to be
yeah.
factual, but they
Yeah.
said he was taking fentanyl. Everybody else dies from it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we are a country that has lost our way in so many different directions. I don't have the answers. My answer is to go to the beach, sit on a chair, catch a tan, drink a beer, and relax. That's mine. I might not have
Yeah.
a beer because I'm on a diet, but I might have me a Surfside and relax.
Well,
But this
after the
whole shit-
podcast, I'll have a beer.
Yeah, this whole shit that we're dealing with in this country, it's out of control. Why can't we just find a happy medium, live our happy lives, and just move on?
Yeah, why don't you say, why can't we just all get along?
No, I don't want to say that because I can't get along with everybody. But I can accept the fact that there's assholes, and I don't have to bother with them. I'm not going to go throw rocks at them.
You know?
I go on Facebook, I see people that have been friends their whole lives hating each other. I just
Oh,
go
yeah.
like this now. As soon as somebody starts a fight, I go unfollow, unfollow, unfollow. I don't care if you've been my friend 100 years. If I
Yeah.
unfollow you, you'll be my friend when I see you because we won't have a fight on Facebook
Yeah.
over some bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just the way it is. So on Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit, hey, we share our opinion. Two morons at the kitchen table trying to do the best that
Yeah.
we can. But hey, Timmy, it was good to see you.
I got
to
one
do the
thing
show.
to throw out, though. One thing
No.
about our
Yeah.
new feature that we're working on. That we're working on trying to find a way, and it might be simple, we're not sure, of how to broadcast this podcast directly on our own, say, Facebook pages. Like,
Well, it's already
The
on
Fifth
mine.
Ward.
It's already on my YouTube, but we could broadcast it to
I'm going to
yours.
see if we can't get it to go up on mine too, the Fifth
So we
Ward
can have it
page.
broadcasted on 25 different places at once.
You
That's
know,
how we get all
So
of
we'll
the
see if
viewers.
that works.
Yeah.
So we'll give it a shot and see what happens. Anyway, Sean, it was
Hey,
good.
to all you morons, go home tonight, have a beer, say a prayer that you're alive and well. Look at your kids, tell them that you love them. Forget about Donald Trump and all the hatred. Forget about it. You're not going to change the world by being a moron. Go home, love your family, love yourself, take good care of yourself. Don't get involved in something that's going to get you hurt because in the end, I guarantee you this, you're going to get hurt.
Right.
And I don't want to see you get hurt. I don't want to see you get
Yeah.
killed. So God
And all
bless
you
you
people
all.
on Remsen Street, go on out and spend $100 for your own barrel and put your own sign on it. You'll save $800.
Me and Timmy are gonna have
You'll
Truth,
piss
Lies, and-
off Napier.
Next week, we're going to sell T-shirts and Truth,
Yeah.
Lies, and Political Bullshit barrels. You can buy in here for
We'll have a
50
barrel
bucks.
of fun, right?
One
All
barrel
righty.
after the other. I'll see you, Timmy.
Hey,
Take care,
good night.
everybody. Roll out the barrel.
Right.